fans, I think, can sense it right now.
To go, inbound to Weatherspoon with one. Weatherspoon puts up the three. It's no good!
The Liberty Flames are still dancing.
And the Flames to the biggest victory in school history.
Georgia to inbound, gets it to AC. Deep three, pull up. He baked it in! He baked it in!
Shot at the buzzer. Good! It's good! It's good! It's one point!
Larry Blair reverse layup up and in, and he's fouled.
Man, you talk about degree of difficulty.
With two, Georgie at the buzzer. Got it! He got it!
Darius McGee, a game for the ages.
And Liberty wins 4 games in the Big South Tournament to take home the 2013 crown.
Look at Bio Baxter Bell.
25 for Colin Porter.
Holmes lead.
Splash!
Shiloh Robinson with an effort play.
And Liberty keeps on coming.
A huge basket by Kyle Rode.
Got it! Pacheco with the 3.
Liberty, put your dancing shoes on.
Well, hey, what's going on? Welcome to the ASOR Red Podcast, the basketball edition, presented by Jason Porter Real Estate. My guy, Will Matthews. How we doing?
Good, man. Just enjoying the golden era of everything Liberty right now. Football's on a roll. Basketball getting on a roll. Everything's working out great.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, good time to be a Liberty sports fan. Will, last week was it was fun, but it was kind of, we had to really, hammer through because we had so many awesome guests. I want to ask you, how's your week going? How's life treating you? I didn't feel like we got enough time to really dissect what I think the people really want to know about.
It's been a pretty busy week for me. I was at a conference a little bit this week and just had some ministry things pop up in the church. And so it's been a pretty busy week, but yesterday got a chance to sit down, watch some football. Thursday got a chance to watch a little bit of the game. And I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but our guy, Chad, sent me a FaceTime, and lo and behold, I open it up and it is, and I'm going to say what I say here, and I stand by my comment, the greatest single basketball player in Liberty University history, Larry Blair, right there on my FaceTime. My week was made. It was maybe one of the greatest weeks of my life. And I have 3 kids, and I'm putting that up there with that.
Hopefully the kids are in bed. Larry Legend. Yeah, we'll talk more. Chad's going to join us later on in the show, talk more about that experience down in Charlotte. We'll talk about that game and the other game that we'll talk about for about 3 seconds. But before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends at Ironclad Coffee.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, where you can enjoy the craft roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it will be directly shipped to your doorstep. Whenever you find yourself in the capital of the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at one of the 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and season ticket holders. And now they're pleased to sponsor the podcast from ASOR Red. Hop over to www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get your Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
All right, thanks to our friends at Ironclad Coffee. I'm supposed to have some being shipped my way so I can give you a full and honest review. I've just heard nothing but great things. You have partaken in the Ironclad communion. Is that correct, Will?
I have. It's wonderful. This is not Ironclad, unfortunately. This is a little bit lower echelon in Duncan right here, but Ironclad is where it's at.
Well, it's great that you brought that up, Will, because I was told that you can order Ironclad coffee online and have it shipped to you. So you don't have to drive, an hour to get it. you can have it shipped to you. The best beans out there. So be sure to check out Ironclad Coffee. In all seriousness, it's wonderful to have companies like that support Liberty Athletics. So we definitely want to support them. They are the official coffee of Liberty basketball, as I saw. All right, let's run through these games because we did have some actual basketball action this week. Liberty opened up with a 104-43 win over Mid-Atlantic Christian. Brody Peebles scored 20 in this game. Really cool to see Brody coming in and being very aggressive. Xander Yates had a nice debut with 10 points. Zach Cleveland, 13 points as well. I think the most interesting thing about this game was our guy Kyle Road only played 10 minutes. And you better believe that's on my list of questions if there was anything strategic to that. But nonetheless, we won't spend a lot of time on this one because I don't think many of you came to give our full and honest opinion of the Mid-Atlantic Christian game. I think you want to hear a little bit more about Liberty's really impressive 71-59 win over Charlotte. This was a game Ken Palm only predicted Liberty to win by 3. So when you win by 12, that's a very good thing. Our guy Kyle Road was absolutely outstanding in this game. Shot the ball a lot, which was cool to see that kind of is willing to take the shots when it's needed to be there. Well, what was your thoughts on this win other than Larry Blair? We'll talk more about Larry later.
Yeah, wonderful win. One of my questions for Kyle is going to be, what is it like when you go against there's Ray bringing in the Ric Flair style. Love it. What is it like to go from a team like Mid-Atlantic to a more formidable opponent in Charlotte? I think those games are always interesting. We saw a little bit in the last couple of years. We've seen kind of scheduling a little bit like that. But all around, just fun to watch them on the Charlotte Hornets court. First of all, but then just the way that everybody played, and it looked like there was the chemistry was already locked in on this team.
Yeah, I was really a little, I don't know if concern's the right word, but Charlotte's a huge team. They have 4 guys that are over 6'10" that have played in their game before. And it didn't feel like that really impacted Liberty at all. It felt like Liberty was able to do whatever they wanted on offense, able to run their crisp offense. Now, look, some of that might be Charlotte's got a lot of new players, a lot of transfers, might be them learning defensively. So if you saw Charlotte later in the year, and I know Richard McKay said that during the postgame as well, said, I bet that Charlotte team later in the year is going to be a lot tougher, and that makes sense. But hey, you got to capitalize on these games when you have them, when you have a team that's maybe not there. And it was just a dominant performance from start to finish. Brody Peebles, again, really looks like a guy that could just come off the bench, he just give you some buckets. And he played really, really well throughout. And then Joseph Vinzant, he just quietly, he quietly has these really nice games. He's rebounding really well. I think coming into today, he's actually 3rd in Conference USA in rebounds so far. So that's just such an underrated, I think, piece of his game is, from his spot, how well he's able to rebound the ball.
Yeah, I could be wrong. But the head coach for Charlotte, am I right in hearing that maybe he came from the Tony Bennett coaching tree? Have you heard anything about that, or maybe am I thinking about somebody else?
Well, I don't know the actual coach. So the coach that Charlotte had last year, Charlotte, I think, won the CBI or one of those tournaments last year. He left. He pulled a Richie McKay, and he left and went to Virginia to be under Tony Bennett. So I don't know if the guy that replaced him was already on staff there because it was so late in the season. I don't know if he also is one of the UVA disciples. I'm not sure on that, but there is a UVA connection there.
Yeah, and then their assistant coach was obviously at Liberty too, so there was probably some familiarity there.
Yeah. So yeah, just I mean, a really nice win. This was a game I really wasn't sure what to expect, and I thought Liberty played really well. We'll talk a little bit more with our guy Chad Hassan on this one, but I did want to kind of real quick before we get to Kyle Road. I wanted to talk about Conference USA just a little bit, kind of just give you kind of a rundown of kind of how things are looking so far. So Liberty has moved up, I believe, 9 spots already in Ken Palm. So off to a really good start, even with only one game that counts in that. Middle Tennessee, they've been really impressive. They blew out Northern Kentucky. That was the team that was predicted to win the Horizon. They also beat Stephen F. Austin. They were picked second in the WAC. So Middle Tennessee looks like they're going to be a really good challenge, I think, for Liberty. They're starting off with a really nice schedule. They get to open up with 5 games at home, but 2 of their next 3 are against top 150 Western Carolina, and then UAB. UAB earlier today beat Maryland. A couple other teams here, just kind of run through the rest of Conference USA. Louisiana Tech, they started their season at Colorado State on opening night. They actually led the game with 10 minutes left. Did come up short. Isaiah Crawford, he's the preseason player of the year in the conference. He only played 12 minutes. He's in foul trouble. And then they're also, we talked with Rocco Miller about this, they're still waiting on a waiver appeal for their 6'11 transfer from Texas Tech, Daniel Bacho. So Louisiana Tech also, they look pretty good for at least the first 30 minutes on Monday. Running through the rest of the teams, UTEP, they haven't played a D1 team yet, so not really going to spend a whole lot of time talking about them, but they will have a good challenge tomorrow against UC Santa Barbara. Sam Houston, they were actually playing earlier today, hung with Oklahoma State for a while, but they fell. They do have a nice win at Pacific. That's a top 175 team. And then they lost another OT game to Utah Valley. Western Kentucky lost by 10 at Wichita in their only Division I game. New Mexico State, hard to really get a read on them. They played 2 top 100 teams on the road in Kentucky. One of them, both blowout losses. Jacksonville State, they blew a late lead and lost in overtime to Utah Tech. That was their only D1 game so far. A guy that I'm mentioning just because I know him a little bit from being from Cincinnati. Kiki Tandy, 23 points. Looks like he's going to be a really, really good offensive player in this league. And then FIU, they are holding up the bottom of the league. They got boat raced at home to Tarleton State in their last game. So that's kind of a CUSA rundown. I'm having a great time just trying to follow these games on a nightly basis, kind of get a feel for this league. Real quick, Will, before we get to Kyle Road, I know you got a lot more responsibilities than me, and you're spending more time in the Word than in Conference USA like myself. But any thoughts on Conference USA so far?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, I mean, I know it's very early in the season, and you can look at this, and there's not really much that you can really take away from it except for just the starting point. But there's such a wide gap between number 1 Liberty and number 9 FIU. But then all of those right there in the middle are all just kind of bunched up, and it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Of course, I know things will change when conference play starts. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, Middle Tennessee, as you mentioned, are looking very good. And I think they were, top 3 or 4 in preseason. Number 2, maybe, I can't remember, but as far as the poll that they take for before the season begins. And, I look at that. It's so fun to see all of these teams and not see like Stetson and North Alabama, and some of those teams, like it's just looking at it, it looks like it's much more competitive, than what we're used to.
As someone who very much enjoys Ken Palm, it's nice to not see any 3s in front of those numbers, because those are the killers. You can't win when you play those games. Like you go and you beat a team that's ranked 320th by 20 points, and you go down. Like it's so these are better competition for that kind of stuff. All right, should we bring in Mr. Kyle Road?
Let's do it.
All right, joined now by Kyle Road, fresh off a incredible performance against Charlotte. Kyle, how you feeling?
Feel great, man. Always good to be back on the podcast, and especially after a win, it makes it a little sweeter.
Well, we were trying to, mix up and give some other guys some opportunities to come on the podcast, but then you go and you drop 20, your lights out from 3. I was like, well, we got to have Kyle on after that game. What was the atmosphere like in Charlotte, getting to play in an NBA arena?
Yeah, we've got to play there before, and those Hall of Fame classes, man, you always play a really good mid-major, and we have in the past. So it was awesome to be in NBA arena and having Virginia after us. And Virginia Tech later. There was a lot more fans that trickled in kind of in that second half, early or late first half. So that was cool too, because those games can be pretty empty sometimes, especially when you're the first one. But atmosphere was great. Thought our team brought amazing energy, and I really feel like it started with our bench. Like our bench had great juice from the start.
Hey, talk about the difference between. I know Liberty has great facilities. But what's the level up when you go to the Spectrum Center and you're in an NBA locker room back there? What is the difference there? What is that like?
I think it might be crazy, but like Liberty's is better, man. Like I know the size of the Spectrum Center, and we're obviously in a guest locker room, right? So it's like you're not in Hornets locker room, but Liberty's facilities are everything you'd see at the Spectrum Center, just probably instead of 15,000 seats, it's whatever Liberty Arena holds. So, but from an atmosphere standpoint, it was really cool. Neutral games are always really fun, especially when you play a quality opponent. So it was really neat.
All right. So I got to ask you, Kyle. So game 1, you only played 10 minutes. Was that strategic? Are you on load management this early in the year?
No, not at all. It's just how it goes, man. You know how those some non-ones, we obviously take them super serious and felt like we did a good enough job early in that second half to where we would honor some of the guys that maybe don't get to play as much, and was all for them getting as many minutes as possible. So the 10 minutes, I would play 40 every game if I could, but it was great. And I didn't even know I played 10 minutes until you guys said it. So that was cool.
I just figured Kyle went in there and said, "Hey, coach, I got just 10 minutes tonight. Just 10 minutes. That's all I want to do." Hey, Kyle, talk about Xander Yates a little bit. He had a really good game, and sometimes watching these games against some of these teams like Mid-Atlantic, it's especially at the beginning of the season, it's fun to get to see new guys that we are not used to and that we want to root for. Xander had a great game. Can you talk about his game a little bit and kind of how you see him developing?
Yeah, he's been a great fit for us. I think when you're at a high level like he was at Creighton, and anytime you get a guy that's been in a program like that and coming to your program, he's a really, really good basketball player. He's just such a great guy too. Like he's been awesome to have on and off the court. And to see him have a great first game in front of Liberty Arena was awesome. We had so many guys, man, that have put so many deposits in day in and day out. So it was really cool to see those guys perform well.
So, Kyle, Charlotte had some crazy size. I believe 4 guys in the game before that you guys had played them are over 6'10" that had played. But it didn't really seem like it impacted you guys. You were able to run your stuff offensively. What were you guys able to do that was able to have so much success against that size?
Yeah, I mean, they have probably the most height that we'll probably see all year from a front court standpoint. So we knew we just wanted to make it as tough as we could defensively, and then offensively the same thing. Just try to put them in as many effective actions offensively to make it harder on them to guard and use our quickness and some things like that. So thought we did a really good job executing that, and you just it's a game where you just gotta fight and contest and do your job. And on that night, I thought we did a really, really good job of that.
Kyle, I loved watching your intensity in the game. When you made a couple of big shots there, you were, like the let's go, but I love watching that. Was it getting a little chippy there at times in the game? Was there some frustration on Charlotte's part that you guys were locking them down a little bit?
Oh, not at all, man. I just think, like I was saying, in those neutral games, it can kind of be not quiet, but it's just like you have to create your own energy. So kind of felt like that's what our team needed. So But our bench, man, they do an unbelievable job of keeping us juiced, and it was a lot of fun when you can make some key plays and help your team win. So it was a lot of fun.
All right, so next up, you have got the Myrtle Beach Invitational opening up against Furman. And I tell you what, the more I was doing research today, I was like, wow, this Liberty Furman game is a really, really good game. Maybe I'm biased. I think it's going to be the best game of the entire tournament, and it's leading off. What's your thoughts on this Furman team?
Yeah, I think we started prepping for them a little bit today. Just have an unbelievable respect for their culture and for what they do. I feel like programs like us, we have an expectation, whatever event we're in, to win. So I feel like it's going to be two great teams, and just super excited to keep prepping for them the next few days. This is probably the most prep time we'll get for a game in this tournament, because you know how these things go. You get 20 hours to memorize the scout after this for Coastal or Wichita State, and then it's almost like a simulation of what a conference tournament could be like too. So it's great practice for that, and just super excited for the opportunity to play a great team.
Do you like these neutral game tournaments? I know you guys played in Cancun, and Myrtle Beach is definitely not Cancun. We call it the Redneck Riviera down here, but do you like these neutral court games like that? And what do you guys get a chance to have some free time in Myrtle Beach? What do you guys do? Do you go like walk down the boardwalk, or what's going on with the team?
I've actually never been to Myrtle Beach.
Okay,
so first time, but
wow.
These events, man, you don't really get to play. It kind of brings you almost back to AAU days, where you're playing really, really good competition in a short span. So Coach McKay makes sure we know we're super locked in on and off the court. So a lot of times it's game, shoot around the next morning, film, game. So there's not a lot of relaxation time. I think we get one day off maybe in this one, so it'll probably be kind of a lighter practice day, and maybe just hang out with the guys a little bit. But no, these events are awesome, man. We've played in some super cool ones since I've been at Liberty. The field almost reminds me of that Hawaii tournament a couple years ago when we had to open up with Northern Iowa, and they were really, really good off the bat. So just when you play in these kind of events, and even Northwestern last year in Cancun or one of those events. So I love playing in these, and it'd be a fun week.
Kyle, I was first off, if you need any advice on winning a tournament in Myrtle Beach at Coastal Carolinas Arena, call up our guy Joel Vanderpool, and he'll walk you through what you need to do for that. Now, but I did want to ask you, what's your favorite of these Thanksgiving, Christmas tournaments that you've been a part of so far?
That's a great question, man. I think all of them have been unique because they've been at different times. Like playing on Hawaii on Christmas Day was an experience, and just like the travel with that back. My freshman year, the Bahamas one was the first one that I was experienced at Liberty, and with that team, that was just unbelievable. But no, they're all different. So, but probably Bahamas won my freshman year. The resort was amazing. Talent and team was so fun, and we got a big win.
Was that the Morgan State Rice Kansas City one?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I remember that on the
that was
screen
on
that was
Sport.
like shaky, and it was not a pleasant experience on our end. Although you guys won all the games, so that was exciting.
Man, it was so funny. The pregame like playlist was just like clapping, and then they would literally say the word music. So like we were laughing for weeks, dude. We were just like, music, like that's all it was. It was so funny.
Was that the first time you had played basketball in a hotel?
Yeah, it was probably the first time because it was just a ballroom. But I played in like convention centers before where there's even some lower ceilings, but never in just like a ballroom. So that was different.
It's like his fourth game here. He's playing in that, and then now you're playing at the Charlotte Hornets arena. How about that?
Yeah, I know. Literally a week later, I think, or 2 weeks later, we played in the Phoenix Suns arena against GCU. So that was another Hall of Fame one. That was really cool.
Awesome. Well, very cool, Kyle. Well, hey, really looking forward to this tournament. I think it's going to be. It's just a really fun tournament because I like that it's not you're playing a ton of like super high major teams. I like that these teams are all teams that are kind of in with where Liberty's at and a lot of other mid majors, and just really excited for this tournament. Best of luck this week.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, thanks as always to Kyle Rode. Let's take a quick word from our sponsor, Jason Porter.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jason Porter. I'm with Legacy Realty and Development, and it's been a great partnership here with Sea of Red lately. I was with Liberty Athletics as the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, so took care of all of the healthcare needs and coordinated that with a fantastic staff at Liberty in the athletic department, of course, for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved into real estate full-time and with Legacy Realty and Development. And it's just been a great pleasure to continue to stay connected with my Liberty University family and the athletics family as well. Been enjoying serving them. A lot of the graduate assistants and some of the staff that I hired has come back now and has been using me for residential services, which I really appreciate. But certainly do residential real estate as far as buying and selling of homes, of course. And then also we have a strong commercial presence as well. So commercial real estate, obviously a very, very different animal than is residential. But whether it's buying and selling commercial properties or just the leasing of properties, we can help with that as well. So it's been a great opportunity to service our commercial clients as well. And then certainly on the investment front too, a number of folks who have discovered the power of passive income through real estate and investing in real estate with rental properties or fix and flips, those kind of things. And so great joy to serve my clients in that capacity as well. The other thing that I would add too is just a very, very full Rolodex at this point of contractors and subs and just different professional contacts that I've made through the years. So if I can ever provide any of those folks to you and all of a sudden you need a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to build your deck, whatever, I'd certainly be glad to give you access to that Rolodex and those references as well. Because a lot of times it's not exactly who you know, it's who you know that knows how to do the job well. And so I would be glad to provide those services for you as well. So love Flames Nation, love taking care of my Liberty family. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, my contact information is all right here on the screen. And I would love to be a service to you and yours. Thanks so much.
There he is. There he is.
What's up, guys?
It's our guy, Chad Hassett. Chad, what's going on, brother?
Just living the life of going down to Charlotte on Friday, watching several games down there, and then hustling back to be at a tailgate by 9:30 on Saturday morning. And, so it wore me out, but it was a great weekend fanning the Flames. And, got some awesome pictures here. Man, Larry was so cool. Will, I heard you talk about it earlier. He was so cool. He loved that people knew who he was and that were like kind of giving him props for what he did at Liberty. And he was doing it in he was so kind to everybody that came up. Like if you walked up to him with your phone, he would like get up and like make room for the picture before you even got to him. It was so cool. And he had great things to say about Darius and was really kind with my son. And it was overall a fantastic experience. I will correct Kyle a little bit and say that it's not like the Liberty Arena, just in terms of everything from like the locker room, the tunnel that they run out of had Buzz City written on it. The screens in there were bigger than my house. They had like a couple of screens that were just huge. And then they had even the screens underneath of the main screens for people sitting down really low. They were bigger than the screens in Liberty Arena, just the sub screens. What else? Oh, the media room. The media room had an interview room. It had a cafeteria. It had like multiple workstations and a locker room for the media. So like it was a whole nother level. It was really cool. So it was really awesome to be there. And they treated it like an NBA game. I heard them talking about with security and just how everything flowed. So it was cool. Like you're sitting there and there's like 10 security guards sitting there staring back at you, because they're protecting the court. So pretty fun experience, I thought.
And you're making Will's dreams come true.
Yeah. I mean, I was almost speechless when I opened up my phone and Larry Blair was there.
Yeah,
that was
like,
awesome.
Yeah, like as he saw me FaceTiming and looking at him, he like stands up, comes all the way over out of his eye. He knew exactly what I was doing, and he was that cognizant of what was going on. And I'm sure you guys saw I tweeted it out, but they picked him later to play in a timeout game. It was like you make a layup, a free throw, and a 3-pointer, and he like went out there and just made them all look so easy. And Will, I mean, dude, I had so many flashbacks when he shot the ball, like even his form and everything. It just like it threw me back so hard to back in the Vine Center, and it was so cool. And that was probably the highlight of the whole trip, other than a big win.
Was that completely random? That did they have no idea that?
They had no idea. They were picking fans all day, and he was wearing his old Liberty jersey, so I guess they just thought he was a random fan. He goes out there and he had Jordans on and everything, and he just looked the part. So no, it was random. And what you couldn't see in the video is on the other side of the court. I was there for probably 5 of these events, and not one person made the layup, the free throw, and the 3-pointer. It was a race against each other, and you only had 30 seconds to do it. Larry's the first one to made all 3, and he made them all at 3 in like 10 seconds. So the guy on the other end of the court got smoked, and nobody saw it coming.
Chad, what did you think about this overall performance? Because I was very impressed. I thought that this would probably be a more competitive game, and Liberty just really start to finish just, I wouldn't say like dominated, but just completely controlled this game, and it was never really in doubt.
Yeah, I have so much to talk about. This game kind of changed the way I viewed basketball in general and life in general. It kind of shook everything. With my mom went to the game with me, which was really cool. She's a big basketball fan. Grew up, her dad and brothers were coaches, so she's always been into the game. And so it was cool to talk to her on the way home and unpack all of this. Here's the main idea is like, the phrase is we look bad off the bus, and that's no shot at our guys, but we do. We look bad off the bus. I actually got a video of the team getting off the bus, and we got Shiloh and a few other tall guys, but then when they call our starting lineup, you can hear it in the arena. When they call Colin first and then Caden second, you can start hearing the like, what these guys. And so we look bad off the bus, and but then we get out there, and they have 2, like a 7-footer, 6'11" guy, and 3 6'10" guys, and they just dwarf us, like all of us, our entire roster. We got Shiloh trying to play against a 7-footer who's just a beast. And I guess what I realized was, you guys remember the NBA playoffs, like whenever like Shaq would get the ball in the post and they'd play that dung dung, that backup music. There was none of that going on in the arena. Like, the game has changed completely. If you can defend, you can create, and you can shoot the 3. And that's what me and my mom talked about all the way home, was like, all right, so if you have 30, and Nick, this is a question for you, is like, how many possessions do they have in the first half? If you shoot more 3s and you shoot 40%, that's so much better than shooting 50 to 60% from 2-point range. So it's like, at what point is that crossover where you have to shoot? But the game has changed. We looked terrible getting off the bus, and but when the lights came on, Caden Matheny can go. Like, he can go. He can create for others. He doesn't force anything. Colin is going to be our best player throughout the year consistently, in my opinion. He creates for other people. Colin also is very underrated. I think he's our second best defender on the team. Like, he's just studly. They hit him in the chest, and he just doesn't move. Like, he's low to the ground, but he can stop penetration. Like, nobody's getting in the paint if Colin's guarding them, and he can test shots well because of his timing. And then you got Kyle obviously knocking down. Brody's release is so much quicker than it was last year. He's worked on that a ton this summer. So seeing Brody be able to get his shot off and make a bunch of them, we just completely different than the ball we played last year. Love Darius. Think Darius is the best to ever do it. No offense, Larry, but Darius did it at a highly efficient and difficult looking way. But I love that we have 4 guys that can kind of create on any given night. And I would take Darius back in a heartbeat, but I'm very excited for this brand of basketball as well. It's just totally different. And it showed. I mean, it showed that we had 4 or 5 guys that and they would kind of run their offense through 1 or 2. And ours was just basically like, all right, what are they giving us? I know I'm talking a lot, but I think the key to the game, and Coach mentioned it a little bit in his press conference, was that 7-footer also had to guard one of our guys. And they had him on Zach Cleveland. And Zach would just get the ball, and they would ISO Zach at the half-court line, and Zach could create for others. It was just like, okay, if we can survive the post-up moves, and we did. We contested. We made it tough for them. If they ever started dribbling, we double-team and try to strip it. But if we could survive down there, then we get to the offensive end, and it's like they stand no chance because, that guy has to come out on the perimeter and guard somebody. And that just it just doesn't go well. You can't lay off of Zach Cleveland at the 3-point line. So all in all, I think that the brand of basketball we play is more modern and just feels like the whole game has changed, especially when you see our backcourt 2-5-9 guys. You're like, wait, basketball used to be about height, and height and athleticism used to be king in basketball. Now it's, hey, can you shoot a 3 and play defense? So I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and I really got excited about our potential for the rest of the season.
Is your mom feeding you all this right now? Is she in your ear?
Yeah, I took notes, honestly. Yes, she is.
I think we need to get your mom on the show. Nick, can you make that happen?
Her and Kirby would go round and round, and she's an old school basketball. She's not as progressive with the shoot the 3 ball. But I think she kind of changed her philosophy. This game did it to her too.
Yeah, winning them over one at a time. No, you made a good point. I mean, the way to get those big guys off the floor is everyone on your lineup can shoot the 3 ball. And I know that's why Coach McKay wants every single guy that he has to be able to shoot the 3, because you force the other team to have to play smaller. But yeah, I was so impressed with Kyle. I know we just had him on. I'm not trying just to toot the guy's horn that came on our show, but he looks like he's really ready to take that. I don't want to say leap because he's been so good for 4 years, but I feel like there's maybe another level here that he can really get to this year.
Yeah, we do Kyle a disservice in some ways by talking about his leadership and all of his intangibles and what he adds to the team. And it's phenomenal. Like every play, every timeout, every play. And it's not like the rah-rah-ree where the guys are rolling their eyes. They're like, oh, yeah, they call him Cap. They're like, yeah, Cap, because he's their captain. They get into it, and he is a phenomenal leader. But we do him a disservice when we talk about that stuff all the time because the guy, like, he can play. He can guard, he can rebound. His passing ability, he's not a point guard, and Colin's really good at passing as well. But Kyle, some of the passes he threw tonight, on Saturday, I remember a backdoor pass to Brody specifically. Like, there's not many people on the roster that are going to attempt that. Kyle's a phenomenal passer, and then you saw what he did from the 3-point line. And it doesn't even have to be, he's not like a Bruce Bowen in the corner. I'll knock it down if I'm open. He's taking contested shots now. And it almost felt like, last year at the end of the season and then at the beginning of this season, Kyle's never played without Darius. Okay. He's never played without Darius. And it's almost like it's his time now and it's his team and he's going to be the aggressor. I saw your graphic earlier. What was it? High volume road. I love that. And I think he's embracing that because he understands that he's got 1 year and he is a great leader. I'm not trying to say he's not. I'm just saying that, like, we can't talk about that all season because that's what Coach McKay would do because, he is phenomenal. He adds that. But the guy is a phenomenal basketball player, and I do think he can be our leading scorer and leading assist man maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. You look through like his numbers, like this guy's been an incredible 3-point shooter every year that he's been here. He's been above average every year. This is his 5th year. He didn't have 1 year where he was kind of, he was okay. I mean, he's been above average every year. He's been super efficient. And now it's, can you take that to, more of a higher volume when it's needed? But yeah, I agree. I don't think we've done him enough enough justice with that and his capabilities offensively. The thing that stood out to me about this game was just I thought Liberty rebounded really well for their size. Like Joseph Vincent, man, that I cannot believe some of the rebounds he's able to pull down.
Yeah, I mean, like tip backs too. Like it's not just like, hey, grab the defense. It's like tip backs where it's like, he uses his athleticism so well. He's got a great wingspan. His timing is impeccable, but it's his desire too that is out there that is like off the charts. He has the go get it mentality. But the other thing is he just is in the right place at the right time all the time. Like he's seen so many shots come off the rim. He knows exactly if they're going to hit high and like come close to the rim or they're going to hit and go long. Like just watching him move towards the basket when there's a ball in the air, he is a savant at that. And I look down halfway through the game. Again, my mom, she wants to know the box score, so I'm telling her, I'm like, Joseph's leading the team with 6 rebounds. She's like, yeah, and 3 of those were putbacks. So like I was like, man, he is I would say, I tweeted it out, he is probably the best rebounding guard I've ever seen. I can't think of another 2 guard, that is his size that rebounds the ball as well. He's on both sides. Like he's not just a cherry picking offensive rebounder. He's not just on both sides of the ball. If he doesn't get the rebound on defense, we're struggling. Like we have to have his defensive rebounding because of the style we play. You only give him 1 shot and it's all about getting that rebound. And Joseph embraced that, and he's a phenomenal rebounder. So we all knew he was a great defender. Last year, he showed a lot of his rebounding, but this year, I think he could lead the team in rebounding at 6'3" from the 2 guard position. So, which would be crazy, and another added, tool in his tool belt as to why he's playing so many minutes. I mean, he's a complete role player, and hoping to see him knock down his shot some too.
Yeah, the TV announcers threw in a little Dennis Rodman reference when they were talking about.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
So exciting to kind of talk to all the guys after the game, and it was like everybody embraces their role. They really do. In the press conference, you could tell like if Brody goes for 30, or Caden goes for 30, or Kyle goes for 20, or Colin goes for 25, like. It's not going to surprise anybody, and then it's just going to be a revolving door of leading scorer this year, which is going to be cool. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Will, you got any other final thoughts on this Charlotte game before we move on to the Myrtle Beach Invitational?
No, I mean, you kind of consider this the first game of the season almost. Yep. You kind of throw out that opening game. I didn't ask Kyle, but last year they went from Regent to Alabama first 2 games. This year it wasn't quite the extreme. I kind of like that, kind of playing someone that's a little bit closer to you, but I'm excited to see, how Nick, you were talking about like this tournament coming up it's mid majors. And so I feel like you get on a nice little roll here and things are going to be looking up for the season.
Yeah. I got on a rabbit hole of Furman today for about like an hour. So I'm excited to talk about Furman and the rest of the Myrtle Beach Invitational. But first, a word from Experience Leesburg.
It's real Florida. It's old Florida, and it's close to all of the Central Florida attractions. Crystal clear natural springs in one of the largest chain of lakes. The beautiful lakefront city of Leesburg offers the best in outdoor adventures, fishing, and quaint shops and restaurants on historic downtown Main Street. Come visit and see how welcoming a hometown city feels. Experience Leesburg, the way Florida is meant to be.
All right. Well, thank you to Experience Leesburg, new sponsor here, Chad, right, of ASOR Red.
Yeah, we got to get down there. Looks like a great place.
I know. Looks like a great time to be had by all. All right, let's get into the Myrtle Beach Invitational because, man, I'm excited about this tournament. Really excited about Furman. We'll go through a little bit more. I'll give you some of my, news and notes from my deep dive of Furman. But, Will, let's start with you. What's your kind of overall thoughts on this tournament? Liberty is, I assume, the favorite going in. Furman's probably the next favorite. So pretty much whoever wins that game is going to probably be heavily favored. Game 2, good, 50-50 shot. Pretty much you're playing Coastal. because if you win, you play the winner. You lose, you play the loser. Coastal stinks, but they're on their home floor, so they get that nice little cute advantage. I don't know, Will, what's your thoughts of this tournament?
Well, just for old time's sake, I wouldn't mind a game against Coastal Carolina. I think that would be fun. Wichita State has been a very successful program. A lot of these programs have. St. Louis, Vermont, Charleston. I've just, I don't have any like preference to what I would want to see. Like, I just think any of these games would be fun to watch.
Chad?
Yeah, just looking at Charleston down there as the sixth highest rated in KenPom, and Charleston's like a good team, a very good team. And I think it's awesome that they have all mid-majors. They're all good mid-majors, all mid-majors that can make a run in the tournament. Some long-standing, some more recent success. I do love that it's in Myrtle Beach. I think that's always a great place to wear red and blue. And John is trying to talk me into driving up there on Thursday, and that's a long trip for 2 games, but it should be a great little tournament. So I'm interested in Furman. I watched them play 3 games last year in the SoCon tournament. I got to go to that and watch them play. Nick, I thought that they lost a lot from last year, but you've been doing the deep dive. What does Furman have? And that's our first game. It's the best 2 teams in the tournament play opening night. That could easily be one of our top wins in the season or top games of the season. What has Furman got for us?
Yeah, I'll get to Furman here in just 1 second. I got a couple of the notes on some of the other teams, and then I got 3 whole slides on Furman.
All right, let's get it.
So looking through this, the KenPom, Charleston's 6th, but they're like only 11 spots or 12 spots behind St. Louis. So they're 1 through 6 is really quality teams. So obviously Liberty at the top of the pack. Furman, we'll talk about them in a second. They're picked to win the SoCon. Wichita's picked to finish 8th in the American, but still a super high, KenPom ranking. St. Louis picked to finish 6th in the A10. Vermont is picked to win America East. Charleston picked to win the Colonial. And then Wyoming and Coastal, Wyoming back of the pack in the why am I losing it? What's UNLV's conference? Mountain West, one of my favorite conferences, losing it. And then Coastal down year in the Sun Belt. So if we're talking about who would I want to play, I want to play who's going to help our rankings the most. Like, that's always where I'm going to go. So I saw someone say something earlier today. Oh man, it really stinks that Liberty plays Furman in game 1. I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of does. This feels like this should be the championship game, but you also are guaranteed to play Furman. If Furman's on the other side of that bracket, you could win. Someone loses and you never play them, and that's a huge game. Win or lose, that's going to be a huge game for your resume. Coastal's going to have a little bit of a boost because it's going to be a true road game, so it's going to help your net a little bit more than facing a team that's 250th ish. But Wichita State, that's a fringe top 100 team, and Wichita's going to have a lot of opportunities this year because they play Florida Atlantic twice, they play Memphis twice, they play UAB twice in the AAC. So I would love to have Wichita just because I think that could be another really big numbers boost. And then the championship, Vermont or Charleston or St. Louis, any of those would be good. The only teams you really probably don't want to play is Wyoming and Coastal. But Coastal, again, you do get that they will call it a true road game because it is their home arena, so it helps a little bit more. But those are the 2 teams that won't help your metrics as much as everyone else. But I'm excited about this. All right, so Furman, this team is 92nd in KenPom. Again, you're really kind of, this is so early in the year. This is a very big estimate, but like you mentioned, they're coming off that 28-8 season where they won the regular season and the conference tournament. They beat Virginia. That's their first NCAA tournament win since 1974. Even though they lost 2 of their best players, they're still picked to win the conference this year. Their first game, they defeated our old pal Casey Alexander by 23 points.
Wow.
So that was pretty impressive. And this is maybe the most impressive stat. I didn't realize this. I know Bob Ritchie's a really good coach. They have finished top 100 in KenPom in all 7 seasons he's been there. And you might be like, oh, well, top 100. Liberty hasn't done that. I mean, Liberty had one season where we were like 125th. To have that level of consistency at a mid-major is just really remarkable. And that's what really got me excited about this. Looking a little bit more at their style over the last couple of years, very efficient offense, very high volume three-point shooting. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of like a mirror of Liberty, except they play a little bit faster and they haven't been as good defensively. I think that's what has set Liberty apart. Is Liberty's defense has been ranked just a little bit higher. But 2 players I wanted to point out from them. First one, Marcus Foster, 6'4" guard. He's really like a well-balanced player. He can score, rebound, doesn't turn the ball over, could force some steals. He's preseason all SoCon. He was actually ranked number 1 in that conference in the KenPom offensive rating. So again, very efficient player. He shot 4 of 9 against Virginia in that NCAA tournament win. And then he had a really nice game, 16.7 rebounds, 2 assists against Belmont. And then there's, I'm going to butcher this poor guy's name. JP Paguis, I think. I know I'm saying it wrong, but this is the dude that hit that shot against Virginia last year. He hit the 3 with 2 seconds left, but he's also preseason all SoCon. Last year in that tournament that you were at, Chad, he was the player of the year. He was the player of the tournament, scored 63 points in those 3 games. And then he just had 23 and 9 in their win over Belmont. So again, this is a really, really good Furman team. I kind of, the more I looked at them, I'm like, yeah, I think KenPom, my guy KenPom might got this a little bit wrong. I think this is probably more of like a top 60 team than a team ranked 92nd. And I think as the year goes on, I think their ratings will continue to go up.
Yeah, I was wondering, since it's neutral, if they are top 100, are they considered quad 1 for a neutral?
Top 50. So again, and just to clarify, net is what we go by for your quad system, but we won't see our first net ranking until mid-December. And the reason they do this, for anyone who cares, is if the NCAA released their nets right now, you'd have like some crazy team like number 1 or in the top 5. You need more than a couple of days of data. The KenPom rankings that we're seeing right now has previous data from previous years. So Liberty gets a huge boost because of Richie McKay. So does Furman because they've been a top 100 team for 7 straight seasons. So you get some of that. They also try to do a little bit of projecting with where guys are rated as prospects and whatnot, as recruits. So it's a little bit more at this point still a guesstimate, and then KenPom, by the time you get into January, it becomes true to this season. So, yeah. but again, so net top 50 is a quad 1. I believe top 100 is quad 2. So yeah. You still have a chance to pick up 3. You could have 3 games at the end of the week that are at least quad 2 or better. There's a good chance Furman ends up being a quad 1, and the net typically does give the mid-majors a little bit more of a boost than KenPom has. If you remember last year, Liberty was higher in net than KenPom. That's from what I've seen, that does tend. I think they probably get roughly maybe a 10 or 15 spot boost a lot of times. There's a lot of other factors into it, but I think Furman actually has a chance to be a quad 1 team.
So what I hear you saying, Nick, is, and that's really great information because I felt like I just sat in a class. But to get this win is not only a good win now, but it could be an even better win later on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Liberty's not going to get a lot of quad 1 opportunities. Yeah. And it's almost like the quad system is a little flawed. I'll be completely honest, because while like Furman on the road is, if they're like 49th at the end of the year, that's still a really, really good win. but that's like this. It's kind of the same win as if you go and win at Duke, right? I mean, like that's not exactly the same. Or no, if you beat Duke at home, it would be the same. But it still has a chance to absolutely be a huge win at the end of the year. You don't get these opportunities. So, I mean, Liberty's going to have a couple. I think Florida Atlantic is for sure going to be a quad one because that's a true road game. You only have to be top 75 for that. Charleston, probably quad two. But, I mean, again, you stack those up. We're not expecting Liberty. And all bets are off. You never know. Things could happen. But we're not expecting them to compete for an actual at-large bid. But when you're talking about if you win the CUSA tournament, you want to have a better resume than the Furmans. Because those are the teams you're competing with for the 11 seeds, the 12 seeds, the 13 seeds. And if you just look at the records over the course of the NCAA tournament the last 20 years, the higher seed you are, it increases your chances of winning that first game by like 5 to 10%. So, it's really huge in terms of giving yourself an actual chance of making a Sweet 16 instead of, needing to pull off a miracle to get to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I'm going to shift gears here really quick off the Lunardi bracketology stuff. I love that. And that's why I asked the question, but I forgot.
2 years into the season.
Yeah. I forgot to mention something about the Charlotte game that was pretty important. It was when, first of all, Darius McGee's name was said in the post-game press conference over 20 times. Okay. When people were asking questions, every question was, hey, without Darius, now that Darius is gone. And I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention this, probably the takeaway from that game for everybody, for every Flames fan was, we can do this without Darius. I saw that 67 by our name and know that Darius contributed to that 67 by, our last year's data. So it's like this year's team, are we really that good? And I left leaving that gym thinking, yes, we're that good. Yes, we can be better than we were without Darius. And it was just a huge sigh of relief because he was so good. It's just like, I think everybody, players involved in everything, everybody just left that gym thinking, okay, we can do this. They probably had a little bit more confidence than I did, but as a fan, that was our first opportunity to see because Mid-Atlantic, you can't tell anything. But Charlotte, that's a good team, and it was a great opportunity for us to prove a launching pad is what somebody told me there. They're like, this is a launching pad win for us because it gives us confidence that we can do this without number 2 in a Liberty jersey. So just wanted to point that out. Literally every question was about Darius, and it was like, I hope this isn't all season, but I kind of got it when I was thinking back. I got it. Like that was our first opportunity to play without him. So I get all of them asking those questions. So just want to throw that out there. And this is another opportunity. Furman, a great team, potential quad one. If we can compete without Darius in that one too, it kind of solidifies what I'm saying about the Charlotte win. Was the Charlotte win a fluke, or is this team really a great team without number 2? So, I felt like what I saw is going to translate to a phenomenal season. But, it was only one game, so a little grain of salt. But it was a kind of a big point from the Charlotte game.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chad, because, in the past, if we were going to play a team as good as Furman, you were thinking, hey, Darius has got to go off and score 40 points. If we're going to, we're going to stay close, but Darius has got to carry the team on his back. And this is just an opportunity to see, hey, where are we now? We saw where we were with Charlotte. Is that something that's going to be a consistency with this team to that level of play?
Yeah. I don't think it's who steps up, like who's going to be our leading scorer all year. Is it going to be Kyle Rode? I think it's like of the 4 or 5 guys that have that potential, which one of them's night is it going to be? That's kind of the mindset right now.
I think this game against Furman will be Liberty's best mid-major game since Lipscomb in 2019.
Wow.
I think it'll be that at the end. I think the end of the year, I think people are going to go, wow, that was a huge game. I think that you're going to have the team that's competing for the Conference USA, team that's competing for the SoCon, both maybe those mid-major darlings that maybe they're not, NCAA at-large teams, but they're the teams you keep seeing on bracketology, 12 seed, and you're like, hey, we saw those teams play each other And I would be shocked if Thursday morning you start seeing a little John Rothstein tweet, under the radar game to watch, and some other guys. I know our guy Rocco Miller is going to be there. Excited to hear what he has to say. He's going to be there for the Furman game, and then whoever Liberty plays the next day. We're going to try to get him on next week and get boots on the ground and hear what he has to say.
Let me transition. Sorry, Chad. Chad, this is for you, Chad. I have a question for you. I'm sorry. Because Nick brought up Rothstein, and love it when we see Rothstein like mention Liberty or other mid majors and things like that with those under the radar matches. Chad, why does Chris Vanini hate Liberty?
He gave us a really solid tweet today. I don't know if you saw, but he said that
I did not see that.
Yeah, he backpedaled everything he said all season long and basically said, "Hey, it's time. Liberty's 10-0. They just beat a good Sun Belt team. It's time to rank them." So why does Vanini? I think he kind of backpedaled. I think it was good for for Emily and Matt and Joe to have him on their podcast. It kind of mended some bridges there. But I think he's just, I don't know. I don't think he has anything out for Liberty. He's just he's an athletic writer, and they're trying to make sure that they get it right. And you just can't get it right all the time. But he did backpedal and sent out a really nice tweet today.
Okay.
What I was going to say is, Nick, I know you're not a football guy, but this is that we are returning to Coach Jamie Chadwell's previous school. There is no love lost for that. He brought the whole staff. Their team's not doing good anymore. He went to what they considered a lateral move for money. So it's not, there's still some really great people down that support Coastal. And, I've actually grown to like Coastal. Just saying, if you're going out to eat and you're at the tournament and you're wearing your Liberty gear, just keep your head on a swivel a little bit for a flying dish or something like that. So just wanted to bring that into the pod because it's not basketball, but and Nick alluded to it earlier. I mean, Will alluded to it earlier. These Big South days, Coastal was never really good in basketball, but it was always beat Coastal every day. Like you wore your beat Coastal shirt. It was awesome. So there is that little aspect that could make that second round, but you are in Conway. So just be careful wearing your Liberty gear out there.
I don't know a lot about football. I did have money on the Flames yesterday, though. Had money on them, and we won a little bit on that, so that was good. I will say Conference USA is a heck of a lot better than the Sun Belt, though, so we got that going for us. So yeah, I'm gonna wear. I want to see Wichita just because of the number, but it would be great just to smack Coastal on their home floor, wouldn't it?
Oh man, it would be more than great. But you know what? Like when we moved to Conference USA, you're focused on the basketball piece of it, and that was a huge jump from 20 rated conference to 11th rated conference. The football, they're like 10 out of 10 or 11 out of 11. Like it's one of the worst football conferences. So like doing well in basketball and representing Conference USA in basketball is so important because it makes the move even better to Conference USA. So it is like the golden star of moving to Conference USA is basketball. So, how we fare against the SoCon and all the tournaments, all the conferences represented in this tournament, it's a phenomenal tournament. And John's going to, come Wednesday night, John's going to say, all right, we're going. So I have a feeling we'll be down in Myrtle Beach and it should be a good one.
Awesome. Before we wrap this up today, let's just kind of give you a quick look at what else is coming up for Liberty after this tournament. We'll kind of do this every week. I'm not going to go too far. But yeah, Liberty, I mean, there's really no rest up until New Year's, and then you're into Conference USA play. So after this tournament, you do have Maryland Eastern Shore at home. That's pretty much a guarantee game. But then you have that tournament with Charleston and Mississippi Valley. Grand Canyon, who had a really dominant win today. They look really good early in the year. Utah Valley's a sneaky, tough game on the road, and then Alabama. So it's really going to be a fun challenge. I love this non-conference schedule. I know I say it every week, so I'm sorry about that. But also, let's take a look at what's going on with Conference USA. Some other teams in action this week, if you're keeping an eye on it. FIU, who I think if there's one team that might end up on the wrong side of that 300 Ken Pom ranking, it might be FIU from what I'm seeing. They're at Miami. They're a top 50 team tomorrow. Middle Tennessee, they got a not a huge test, but Western Carolina, they're top 150. As I mentioned earlier, they're playing all their first 5 games at home. Jacksonville State, they are at West Virginia on Tuesday. Western Kentucky at Murray State on Tuesday as well. Then the rest of the week, Sam Houston, they are at Ole Miss on Friday. And then FIU actually starts a tournament in the Grand Cayman Islands on the 19th. That's kind of what we're watching this week. Looking forward. I've just been enjoying watching a lot of these Conference USA games. It's a fun feel, and I think people, I think more of, not the weirdos like me. I think when we get into Conference USA play and we see some of these actual games, I think people are gonna be like, wow, this is a different level than what we've seen before. And I think people are really, really gonna get excited when they see Western Kentucky or whoever come to Liberty Arena, or see it playing on the road. Some of these teams on the road, I think they'd be like, wow, these games have a lot more intense feel than some of the ASUN games, because there was some ASUN games that did have some pretty good atmosphere. I don't want to say everyone was just a stinker, but I think there's going to be a lot better feel, and I think people are really going to enjoy that.
Since the regular season means nothing for us this year, like literally nothing, not even NIT. One thing that I would like to see happen this regular season is to play and beat Pat Kelsey twice. That'd be incredible. You brought up the opportunity last week on the introduction show. Like, I hadn't even thought about that, but make it to the championship of this Myrtle Beach tournament and play Charleston, and then go down there a couple weeks later and play them in that FAU. I would love to beat Pat Kelsey. Like, you talk about some good Big South teams. Those Winthrop teams were very good, and Pat has them rolling down there in Charleston now. So I follow him on social media and his Our City stuff. Like, I think it's good. I think it's working, but it's so annoying to me just because of the Winthrop ties. But I kind of pull for him, but at the same time, it's very annoying. And I know he's a Cincinnati guy, and I know you guys have the Reds and this, that, and the other, but I would love to beat Pat Kelsey twice. So if there's a regular season championship, it is playing Charleston twice and beating them twice for me. So, because unfortunately, there's no home court advantage for the tournament. There's no NIT. We're not a 2-bid league right now, which most are projecting. We're not a 2-bid league right now. So regular season is just about peaking at the right time and staying healthy and beating Pat Kelsey twice. So
Pat Kelsey, he follows me on Maine.
I know he does. You guys.
I don't know if I want to put a cross. So, hey, coach, you want to come on my Liberty show? He's probably like so confused. Like, what is going on here? I follow you to know what's going on with Ellie De La Cruz, bro. I will push back on one thing, though. I do think the regular season actually means a lot for the NIT now, because we're playing for an at-large bid. And last year, Liberty was an at-large bid in the NIT, and there's going to be more at-large spots open up. I honestly think that the NIT rule, as terrible as it is, could actually benefit Liberty, because I think Liberty's going to take some of those spots that might go to like a team like a Radford or something like that, if Liberty finishes third in Conference USA on a given year. So I do think that the regular season, every game is going to really matter towards that. Now, is that really worth putting all your stock in all year long? Probably not. But
I do love neutral site tournaments. I know I just kind of railed on everything about it, but I love neutral site. I cannot wait for the conference tournament and play in those 3 days. And, it kind of stinks that you have to reel off 3 in a row, 3 days in a row. But I do love a neutral site tournament. So not all is lost. And really, the regular season just gives us fans something to talk about and be about and do about and chat about on Twitter. So that's what it's all about anyways, is just giving everybody something to talk about and be about, and players good opportunities to play in good games. So at least we have that going for us with this year's non-con that you keep talking about. I love it.
And not to be a totally sore subject, but if you look over the last couple of years, Liberty's lost games on their home court, and they've won games on the road in these conference tournaments and on the neutral. So, I mean, yes, it is an advantage. There's no question about it. But I almost wonder if you are the number one dog. Like let's say I don't think it's going to happen this year because I think Middle Tennessee and I think Louisiana Tech are going to be legitimate competitors with Liberty, and I think there's other teams that could get up there. But let's just say that Liberty does pull ahead of the pack, and they are they're minus money to win the tournament. It almost could be easier to play on a neutral than having to play in front of your home fan. I was just watching on TV, Chad, last year. It felt like the weight of the world, like that Eastern Kentucky game when Liberty got down, it felt like the weight of the world was on that team in that game, and it almost feels like it could take away some pressure.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
I think the way McKay coaches too, and the way he rallies his team is, he doesn't say this much publicly, like in press conferences and stuff, and he's not really ever said it to me either, but you got to think behind closed doors. Richie loves a good us versus them. Lock the cage. We're in a neutral site. Nobody's giving us a chance. So he can do that a lot easier on a neutral site, and I think it gets the guys going. And I think they embrace that. I mean, like I started off this whole segment talking about, we're bad off the bus, and nobody's giving us a chance when we walk in to a neutral site. Like those guys, where is it at? Somewhere at Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville.
They're going to be like, all those locals in Huntsville are going to be, wait, this is the number one seed. So there could be a chip on our shoulder from the get. And I agree. I think it's easier to win in a neutral site like that because other teams are dealing with it too. But it takes that pressure off. Like the rim doesn't get quite as small, quite as fast on a neutral site, because at home, if you're missing, you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. And then the fans, you can hear the moans like, oh. When Darius wasn't doing well last year, I forget which game it was. I think it was anyway. So yeah, I think great point about
that quiet of, man, we are not scoring is just as loud as
exactly right.
Those big threes.
Right.
So
Christian, that Charleston game is a Flow Hoops game. Disgusting.
Oh.
Yeah. Disgusting. But yeah, I'm excited for this this week. One question for you, Chad, before we wrap this up. Are you going to print the T-shirts bad off the bus? I mean, I feel like that's the next We Got Dudes.
Bad. I'm going to take so much heat for that. I haven't checked my phone, but I'm going to take so much heat for that, just because it's kind of a belittling, and no pun intended. But I'm wait. Just what do they say in football? They say put the ball down. Like, that's it. Like, you can talk all you want, say what we look like, but put the ball down and let's play. That's the same thing with this team. Like, in warm-ups and pre-games, but throw the ball up, and I like our guys. I like Caden and Colin in the backcourt, 5'9", doesn't matter. Throw the ball up, and when they start defending you and locking you up and you can't stay in front of them, then you're like, oh, well, I guess size really, it's not that important here in this game of basketball like it used to be. So, bad off the bus. I'm going to catch so much flack for that, but
was Caillou on the bus?
Yeah, Caillou looks good. Now, Caillou's just a rebounder in warm-ups, so it doesn't really help much. He doesn't take off his street clothes, but he is impressive. Like, he is impressive, and he will help us get a little better off the bus.
Oh, I love it. All right, well, looking forward to this tournament. We will let you know. We'll try to come back sometime after this tournament. Obviously, it wraps up on Sunday, so we won't be doing our normal Sunday night next week, but we'll try sometime after the tournament, before the next game before the tournament, and then before the next tournament with FAU in Charleston, to come talk to you guys and let you know where things are at. Appreciate you, Will. Appreciate you, Chad, jumping on for Jason Porter Real Estate, for Ironclad Coffee, and of course for Experience Leesburg. This is Nick Kirby. Thanks for joining us for the A Sea of Red Basketball Podcast.